Hello, so in today's video we're going to take a look at the Soviet PDF gas mask series, and this was a series of children's respirators made in the Soviet Union for children, obviously. Now the idea is these masks were for very young children. They did these in a variety of sizes and models, and then the idea was that a child would go onto a GP5 style mask once they were old enough to wear one. However, the large PDF masks tend to be very similar in size to the small GP5s. So there's a bit of a crossover there. Now, I've not been able to find concrete information on this, but I believe a lot of models of these are known as the PDF-D, and I believe the D at the end means it's like a preschool mask or something like that, but I don't know if the other masks would be considered the same thing or not. I don't know. So this is the mask itself. It looks a bit like an elephant. Now I've got 3 versions of this mask to show you, but there were quite a few different variants of this. Made in different colours, different valve assemblies. And I think the reason for that was simply because the Soviets produced this mask probably for a few decades. They made different designs, and cut corners in places or improved bits here and there. So the mask overall is fairly simple. You've got basically 2 eyepieces, and you've got no Tissot system or anything like that inside. You simply have the intake valve there. You can see where the nose would be, your 2 eyepieces, and then your exhale valve is where your mouth is. So your intake valve on this is connected to a rubber hose, and then at the end of that is a 40mm GOST thread that you'd put a filter on. So by default this mask uses a filter very similar to the GP5 filter. Now I don't actually have one in this satchel at the moment because I wanted to make the mask as compact as possible in the satchel. So what you'd normally do is screw a GP5 style filter in, that would sit in the satchel, the child would wear the mask, the hose would go into their satchel, and that would help them carry the weight of the filter, because obviously if they're a young child, having a full-size filter on their face isn't going to be the most comfortable or easy thing to do in the world. So this mask is very primitive in construction, but it works. Now this is a later style model one. As you can see, it says 88 on there, which I'm assuming is going to be the production date, not the 61. I'm assuming 61 is going to be a batch number or sort of serial number, and then 88 is the year of production on this one. And this one is a size 2. These go from size 1 to 4 as far as I'm aware, like most Soviet masks. Size 4 being the largest, size 2 being sort of, if you have size 1 very small, size 2 would be small, or sort of small medium, size 3 medium, medium large, and then size 4 large or very large. So that's the way the sizing worked on these. Now, as this is a later model one, you can see it's got this kind of plastic sort of valve cover on it. So you can take that off. There you can see that's just a little cover, it doesn't really do anything. Just protects this bit, and there's a screw here, but I don't know if this actually screws off at all or if it's just, a visually like a screw looking thing, because I don't want to rip the mask by forcing it. But regardless, that's how this one is put together. So now let's look at 2 other types of PDF. I think one is the same model as this one, just in a different colour, so bear with me, I'm just trying to get that back on. There we go. So anyway, this is one from what I'd assume is 1988 and in black. Right, so what we also have, let's put that one down, is another size 2 PDF. Again, this one is 1987, and it has a different kind of serial number type thing on this one. So again, this one says 55 and says 86 there. So I'd assume the mask itself was made in 87, this strap harness was made in 86. And again, this one has the 5-point rubber head harness. It's got the exact same insides as the other one. If you can see that on the camera, maybe. Like I say, as the straps get in the way. But yeah, that's exactly the same in terms of that's quite a creepy looking mask on the inside, isn't it? I mean, it's a fairly creepy looking mask on the outside. Now this one's missing its hose because I was able to buy 2 very cheaply that were missing their nose hoses. You could always attach another hose on there, and I imagine it's quite simple to fit a hose yourself, which is what I want to try and do with these. So that's this design. Again, this is exactly the same. This one is sort of turning, but I don't think it's actually doing anything. I think it's just simply, turning and not going anywhere. But that's interesting. This one actually does rotate, but I don't think it actually does anything when it rotates. I think it just does that on there. So anyway, this is another variant of that same model of PDF, but this one in grey, so as you can see they made them in several colours. Right then, so here we have an older model of PDF. Now this one is different because, as you can see, maybe, you've got a metal valve on the bottom rather than the plastic valve cover, And this mask is also got a different strap harness system. It's got one of the old Soviet ones like the MM1 had, and what was it, the GP4 had? This mask is fairly similar to the GP4 actually compared to the GP5. It has that style head harness system where you've only got two bits that you pull to tighten it at the bottom. The other bits are, you know, it's like it's a strap assembly that's all built into itself basically, if that makes sense. I know I'm making that sound more confusing than it is. But yeah, there you go, there's the inside of that mask. So this one does not have individually adjustable straps, it basically has two straps at the bottom that you use to pull all the other straps tight. Now, there's 80 on here, so I'm going to assume that 80 is, this one was made in 1980, because I'd assume that 50 there isn't the actual production date. I'd assume that sort of 50 is the, you know, production run or serial number, something like that. Now, out of all the PDFs I've got, this is the only one that's going to, you know, come even close to fitting me because it's a size 3. So I'll put it on, it won't be comfortable, but you can at least see what it's like on, and as I've shaved my hair, it's going to go on a bit easier, so let me pull this off. Okay, so this is the mask on. I'm not going to tighten any of the straps at all because it's really tight. As you can probably see, it doesn't have a Tissot system, so it fogs up pretty quickly. Now, funnily enough, it is airtight, because if I do this, you can see it's pressurising to my face, but of course this isn't comfortable in the slightest because this is made for faces much smaller than mine. So you can probably see how it's, you know, compressing uncomfortably onto my face. And the more I'm wearing it, the more it's fogging up. So let's take this one off a minute. So there are two other variants of this that I at least know of, and this is ignoring ones in multiple colours. There's a version of the PDF that has the metal exhale valve kind of slightly to the side, and I think the hose might even be slightly offset as well. I think that's the oldest design of it, because I think they went from the one which had the exhale valve and the hose slightly off-centre to this model where it was still a metal assembly but everything's centralised, to then using the plastic ones. And then there was a later generation one that kind of looks a bit like some of the Israeli masks, or maybe a bit like the GP7, but you know, in children's sizes, which again, it looks a bit more advanced than the other models of PDF, but you can still see it's pretty much the same mask. So I haven't got that one unfortunately, and I haven't got the earlier model unfortunately, but the problem with these masks is often they can sometimes be quite expensive even though they're mass-produced surplus masks. And obviously because they don't fit me, I've not got as much as an incentive to get these masks. However, I want to do a project now with this, and I'll probably do it with this one because this is the one that comes closest to fitting me because it's a size 3. What I want to do is I'll see if I can get any of these straps slightly looser, because it may be possible at the top to adjust these ever so slightly and loosen them up just a little bit, you know, not much, but just a little bit. Any little bit I can adjust these would help. And then what I want to do is try and, I could fit a filter, I imagine, directly onto the nose of the mask, but I don't want to do that, because if I do that, the issue will be, you know, like the filter's going to block your view, obviously. If you're looking out there and then there's a filter directly in front of your eyes, that's not going to be any good. So what I'm going to do is probably try and work out how to do some sort of hose assembly on this. Now, of course, I'm not going to wear this mask for practical reasons, because, you know, I've got so many very high quality, good adult size masks that fit me that are very modern. So I have no reason to, you know, adjust this mask to fit me, but I think it would look cool anyway. I mean, you could even maybe just do a very basic particle filter on the nose if you just wanted it as a dust mask type thing, and I think that would work. But anyway, I think the PDFs are creepy looking masks, because, you know, when the Soviets decided to make children's masks, of course they would make as creepy looking children's masks as possible. They didn't do, you know, the British thing with the Mickey Mouse masks where they said, you know, let's try and make the mask colourful and bright, you know, colours so the kids would like them. I've only ever seen pictures of these in sort of greys, sort of slightly off yellow colours, blacks, and I think like the sort of greens colours. But you know, you're pretty much going to have these sort of colours. This is going to be pretty much it when it comes to PDFs. So yeah, if I wanted to, obviously I could just take the hose, taking the clamps off of this one and put the hose onto this one. However, what I think I will probably do is see if I can get another hose to fit it. Right, what I'll quickly do is I'll just see if I can grab one of my 40mm hoses, and I'm not going to properly attach it now, but I just want to see how easily it would go on. Okay, and what we have here is your standard kind of Soviet 40mm hose. Obviously this is the end you put your Ghost filter in, and this is the end that would screw into the mask. So, is it possible to kind of force this on here, and then maybe use plumbing tape? Of course, it's probably possible as well to take this nose piece out the mask and then modify it that way, but I would think you could probably just do this. Give me a moment. Now, of course, like I said, I'm going to try and probably do this properly on an actual video, but I mean, and you could obviously take the end of this mask hose off here as well, which might make it a bit easier, but there's probably a way of just brute forcing this in and then using plumbing tape or something to actually yeah, how you want it. I'm expecting in a moment it just to suddenly kind of go in, because I think what will happen is the metal of, I mean, what I could do maybe is it might be possible to get some pliers and squeeze this ever so slightly to make this a bit narrower, and then it might fit in a bit better that way. But I'm just going to try forcing it again for a minute, so I'm just going to turn the camera off and just have a go, you know, at a workbench of doing that, then I'll cut back. Right, after working on this hose for quite a while with pliers, I still wasn't able to get the top section to come out, so what I did is I cut it along this bit where it's a bit narrower, and hopefully that'll work fine. As I said, these are the sort of Soviet hoses that you can buy really cheap. I think this one might have had a split in it somewhere anyway, so it's not all that important. So anyway, let's see now if I can stretch that over here, which I should be able to. It's a bit awkward trying to do it one-handed. Twist that on there somehow. Right, it looks like that is over the nose section of the mask now. So yeah, as you can see, that's on there. It's not very tight. I'll need to put wire or glue or something on there to get it on a bit tighter. As you can see, there is now a hose on there. So I'm just going to kick the metal bit away from that so I don't stand on it and cut my foot open. So let's put this on. Okay, now as you can see, it pressurizes. So it seems this method of adapting the hose works. So I can now fit Ghost filters or FP5 filters or whatever to this mask and actually have a functioning version of it. So yeah, obviously what I'll probably do is use a bit of wire to keep this bit tight on there like they did on lots of old gas mask hoses. But yeah, and maybe put some plumbing tape around it as well. But overall, yeah, this is relatively simple and it works. So yeah, if you wanted to repair a PDF, all you need to actually do is get a Soviet style hose, cut the end off, and then just, you know, wrap it around there, then tape it on so it's nice and secure, or put a wire on it, and then you've got, you know, your kid's mask with the full-size hose on it. So that's how you do that. But anyway, hopefully you found this video interesting on Soviet PDF masks. As I said, they're quite creepy kids masks, but they're sort of interesting things.